We're on.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Burt with Half Wheel at PCA 2022. I'm here with Mike Szczepankewicz with Powstanie
Yep,
and Poshik
Yep.
and Cigar Hustler podcast
Yep.
and Retail Space.
Cigar House of Retail, yep.
So
All of it.
yeah, he's a busy guy.
Yeah.
It's an absolute pleasure to be able to get you on here and chat with you this morning.
This is fun. I like
so,
this. This is good.
yeah, very, very excited. And yeah, I wanted to talk to you because you do have your hands in so many different areas of the industry.
Yeah.
I thought you might have some interesting perspectives
Yeah.
from all of those.
Yeah, like
But-
as far as PCA goes, it's a lot to digest for me. So for one, what's really good is I'm going to be here regardless as a retailer, right? I'm going to see the new products, say hi to everybody, and that whole thing is definitely significantly important. So it's a no-brainer for me to represent my brands as well, not my own brand and the other brands that I represent. I mean, it's not hard to get a 10 by 10 booth or be in the Roma Craft booth. And I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's just like a little something extra, right?
Yeah.
But because I'm in that position, I don't have to be concerned about what my overall sales and customer acquisition is in the PCA, right? Where a lot of these other guys, a lot of these really smaller brand owners and manufacturers that are just kind of coming up, they do need those big numbers. They do need to, to acquire more customers. They do need to continue to grow. So, if you want to talk about my analysis, do you want to talk about my analysis of the show, what I've seen so far?
Yeah, we absolutely can start with that. For sure.
I mean, the numbers wise, as far as like the tempo, it seems pretty scary to me. Obviously your big dogs are going to do fine. Your Tatuaje, your Foundation cigars, your Sakas, Dumbarton Tobaccos, Crown Heads. At those places, they're always, people are going to be excited. They're going to have PCA stuff. Obviously, we saw the Padron release with the Fuentes, and people are excited about that. But then all those other littler guys, those smaller dudes, I really think that we've had this experience where, and I think this has happened before in the past, we have this pop of these new cigar companies kind of pop up, and then like the economy kind of starts to suck, recession kind of hits, and then a lot of them go away. The difference now is, what does that mean for the PCA? And if you lose those, I know that they're small boosts, but it's like death of 1,000 cuts. So that's pretty scary, pretty unnerving. I've never felt that way before. I mean, you come in every year and you're like, it's PCA, all right, And for me personally, I love coming, but I also hate coming.
Yeah.
Like it's a big thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you say death by 1,000 cuts. It was noticeable last year where there were a lot of companies that, and not the people that decided to pull out of the PCA before 2020 happened, but
Right.
like the people that, because of the worldwide pandemic, what their uncertainty or even their inability to travel to come to the show.
Yeah.
And so there was a noticeable, there were noticeable empty booth spaces where a lot of the smaller companies should have been.
Right.
While simultaneously, I mean, the bigger guys not being there benefited it because there was more time to visit them. But
Right.
And it's good to hear another perspective though, directly from somebody who's here this year.
Yeah.
And how things are going this year.
Kinda
Though,
living
so.
it. Yeah, I mean, so like the crappy part with the cigar, the cigar industry boomed, right? 2020, 2021, like those things were great for retailers. You were selling cigars, it didn't matter. Like, to a point where it's like, I'll take it, right? And the shitty part about that is when that boom really hit and the way that it was kind of timed because of the pandemic, PCA didn't have an opportunity to take advantage of that.
Right.
If anything, they lost. They actually had to wind up taking a further step back. So like this is the first year where you can kind of get back in the full swing of things, and now you have a turbulent economy.
Yeah.
You got gas at $6. All types of other things going on, and your consumer that was comfortably buying isn't there as much, right? You still have it's like a weird divide. I would say that you have consumers that your big buyers are still big buying. But your little guys, your guys who would buy 3 sticks or 4 sticks, they're maybe dumbing it down to 1, and so that there's a huge swing there. I think that's going to hurt, the what's new concept, where a lot of people want to smoke what's new. If you can only buy one,
You're going to stick with something that you know.
Probably are going to stick with something you know, right? So then now who pays?
Right.
So the retailer will learns quickly, right? Hey, I'll take the new product, then the new product doesn't move. It's like, all right, fuck that. I'm gonna stick with this, and then I'll play it safe with my other brands that I know that come out with something new, but are still a reliable source, type of a thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this whole PCA thing is ran on what's new, right? As a retailer, I come in and I know that, Crown Heads got a new cigar. Nick's got new cigars that he won't let me smoke the High Claire, which I'm very upset about. Nick, you should let me smoke that cigar. And I'm excited about those things.
Right.
So I will go to those booths to order those cigars and smoke those cigars, and I know that those cigars will work, right? One way or the other. But like a newer brand, like let's say a brand's around for year 2, now they release a new cigar, I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
It's really kind of hard. So how do you keep those guys here so that you can continue to build back the PCA, right? And I don't want to see the PCA go away as much as I love and hate being here. I would definitely. I'm here because I prefer to see it succeed. Right.
So you were speaking about consumers cutting back their consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a unique perspective that I think you can provide.
Yeah.
What have you seen as far as retailers? They had their big boon in 2020 and 2021. Yeah. Are they cutting back as well with the expectation that the consumer is going to be cutting back?
Yeah.
Or are they planning ahead thinking that they're going to have a comeback eventually? And because I mean, this is a year of planning. I know it's kind of hard to do that, but we only have this once a year. And
yeah.
So what have you seen there?
All right. Well, let me tell you what I have. So being a veteran in this industry for 13 years now, here's what I've learned. Like, wealth and succession really is grown in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I mean by that? Right now, you're experiencing this thing where some retailers are pulling back on a brand owner manufacturer level, right? Like they're not buying. If a person was buying 50 of something, maybe they're buying 20, or maybe they're buying 25,
mm-hmm.
right? But what happens is, when that new thing hits or whatever that order was, if they oversell it, now they want to come back and buy it again, right? Here's the problem with that. Now you're a further week down, plus you got to ship it. So now you're 2 to 3 weeks out since the new cigar is shipped. And if you take on that next 25, it's not as easy of a sale.
Yeah.
Right? So you have a shift. That consumer didn't necessarily go away. That consumer's still here, but now he's on to the next person because you didn't have what he wanted.
Right.
Right? So you're going to see some really good retailers that are really good at what they do. Not only are they really good at what they do, but they're not scared to take the risk, really kind of propel forward in the upcoming years. And then you're going to see some of these other retailers who are a little more timid, a little more held back, kind of sit where they are. Okay. And that's really what I've kind of experienced, from a brand owner's perspective and a manufacturer's. Now, as far as a retailer's perspective, like I said, your consumers, if you try to look at your numbers, your 2020, your 2021s were ridiculous. I don't care, you could have been a monkey fucking a football. You're going to have a great year, right? Now that you're at this kind of turbulence, I like to review the data every week. I like to review the data with my staff, doing better, where are we messing up, the whole shebang. It's like a 20-minute meeting. It's every week, right? So, we have the scoreboard. We look at what's going on, and you can see these huge swings. You see a huge swing up, and you're like, wow, that was a ridiculous week. And then you have a huge swing down. You're like, what happened? Where did everybody go? Like numbers that don't make sense on either spectrum.
Yeah.
But you know that both of those numbers average out, and they still show growth. So if you can understand that, then you know that you need to keep pressing forward, right? But if you're just a retailer that just kind of looks at a blip and says, oh man, this is rough. Oh, this is down, you start to panic.
Yeah. And
if you're panicking, you're not buying.
Right. Well, that's true.
Right? And if you're not buying, now there's this whole chain reaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
For one, you're losing consumers. For two, the other brands and manufacturers that you carry aren't selling as much, and there's this kind of compression, right? So I really feel like that's where we're at, and that's what we're about to experience. I mean, I think that we're already 6 months down the road of that. So the question is, how long does it last? Who will survive, right? As far as brands, as far as shops, and what does PCA look like 2023, 2024? I don't think it goes away, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it definitely felt like this is probably the leanest year I've ever seen. And for me, it makes no difference to have that booth. And I think that makes no difference for a lot of guys that are kind of established with your accounts, right? Like a lot of the orders that I wrote are just my existing customers.
Yeah, people you would have talked to.
Yeah, I would have checked in. They would have placed the order.
They were here. You were here.
Right.
Yeah.
The reality is that I was sitting with Sam from Fine Ash and Jeff Mateo Riverside. We were hanging out at the bar and we were talking point of sale systems and breaking everything down. And one guy's doing this thing and one guy's doing another thing. And after about 20 minutes, I go, I got to be honest. This is the reason why I'm here. Having this type of a conversation with you guys, is really the sole purpose of the PCA, right? So I don't know how you convey that to somebody. It's especially a person or a retailer that identifies other retailers as the enemy.
Right.
It's just it's crazy to me. It's perplexing.
Yeah, I mean, you did say that the consumption is down, but still there are enough consumers that I don't think any store necessarily needs to see each other as an enemy.
No,
right?
Not at all. Not at all. It's a lot easier if we all work together, man. Yeah. It's a lot easier. And I've really been a huge proponent of that. I've always said that. And I have difficult conversations sometimes with the retailers, but a lot of people get it at this point.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Cool. Do what? I was going to. Thanks, Brooks, for interrupting my interview.
Yeah, Brooks.
Well, I was just, I wanted to let you wrap up your thoughts on all that and everything before moving on.
Yeah, Brian's doing a great job, Brooks. Jeez.
I got a great guest. I don't even need to ask the questions. It just flows. So I did want to highlight a couple of things for any viewers that might not be aware of it. Or
okay.
I know you guys have your podcast.
Yes.
And
yes,
when we talked on day one, you had said that you guys were expanding your podcast network.
Yeah.
So did you want to talk about
Sure, yeah. So, we started with the Cigar Hustlers podcast. It's been going on for about 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I say these numbers, and it's just baffling to me.
Yeah.
It feels like yesterday, and then I'm like, no, I'm definitely older. Things start to hurt now, But so we decided to kind of, actually, Brett Fry Tobaccology, he approaches me and says, hey, man, what do you think about doing a network?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I'll check it out. So I'm like, okay, sure. I'll build a thing where everybody can kind of join. And they'll have their own episodes and their own channel, but it'll be under ours, right?
Right.
So that way you don't have to start from scratch. If you're a cigar guy and it's got good material or whatever the case may be, boom, here's your platform, and you can kind of start building, right? Off of something that's already established.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of parlayed into my partner Palmer doing a middle-aged, he calls it the shit show. And that has kind of developed into its own monster as well. I'm thankful that I'm not part of that. I mean, it is, I've listened from time to time, and they are just off the rails. It's very funny. A lot of people laugh, and it's surprising to me how many people that are in the cigar industry are like, dude, the shit show's hilarious. I'm like, I had no idea that you listened, And then our other buddy, his name, we call him Boots, he wants to do a sports cast too.
Yeah.
So we're going to build all of that and really kind of let it naturally kind of accrue. I mean, the Cigar Hustlers podcast took off all by itself, and it became a big deal. And I didn't realize how big of a deal it was until people started, regurgitating the stuff that I was saying, I mean, I gave Justin Andrews a hard time. I said, when Matt Booth joined SCG, I said, how many hand jobs did it take for Justin Andrews for you to join? And Justin Andrews comes right up to me. He's like, dude, why would you say something like that? Well, I'm here now saying it again. So I can't wait to call him on the show and get the actual number for the fans and listeners as to how many it took. So that's going to be very interesting. He never answers when I call him. So. So the podcast, the network is going fantastic, and it makes us zero money. It's pretty funny. Like every once in a while, we'll get like I didn't want to do the normal. You know, I didn't want to do brands and promote products and stuff like that. I wanted to have the ability for the listener or the viewer to believe that my opinions aren't skewed by my sponsors.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks doing it that way in some ways because, you know, your advertising pool is definitely a lot smaller, and but we have gotten some guys and we have upgraded our materials from time to time, but it's a lot more liberating, you know, and it's cool to kind of say whatever I want. I mean, I've always been that way, so it makes it easy.
It does help, you know, not beholden to anybody.
Right,
so.
Beholden to no one. So yeah, it's pretty fun. Yeah, you know, and it just kind of really took off. So
cool.
So yeah. I'm waiting on Brett Fry still, though. You know, it's been like a year. He gave me the idea, and he hasn't backed it up.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's touch on one more thing, and then we can wrap up. Do you want to talk about anything exciting coming down the pipeline, either from a distributor perspective or you know, your brand?
Well, I am excited. You know, I'm excited about a couple things. You know, I enjoy working with Matt Booth. I enjoy working with Espinosa and doing those kind of one-offs.
Right.
Because it gives me this ability to create something that, you know, doesn't have to be tied to Powstanie. Like Powstanie has its own representation. And then I can kind of think of things that, you know, that have affected me in the past, and I can kind of link those things into the other projects, right? It looks like I'm going to have more production for Powstanie, possibly a couple of goodies coming up. I can't say too much about it just yet, but you know, Skip was leaning towards the green light, so I'm really excited about that. You know, I love making stuff out of that Nika Sueño factory, and those guys are my guys. You know, I've been rolling with them for over a decade now, so I'm looking forward to continuing with them. Yeah. So, as far as like new products that the scars are here, I mean,
no, I mean not new products, just what you're excited about.
Yeah, I mean,
and to what you said, it does seem like it would be liberating and fun to have that ability to collaborate on one side, and grow your brand on the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just it sounds fun.
And what's kind of remarkable is that I've always wanted to do little things like that, but like it never. It just had to happen naturally, right? Like, I think a lot of people get into the game in year 1, year 2, me included. I'm like, I want to make a scar with you. Like, let's do something, you know? Yeah. And like, you get like a fuck you, buddy. You know, like, okay, sure thing, you know. Yeah. But as you kind of progress and you really earn that credibility and your reputation builds, then all of a sudden the doors are open. Like, there's no questions asked. Hey, I want to do something. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds
good.
Yeah. You know, and Skip and Michael were definitely the first to really kind of give me that opportunity, and I was fortunate enough to kind of hook up with them when they were really in their infancy. So, you know, I mean, I'm very grateful for them and grateful for the ability to help grow because of them. So, loyalty is loyalty, you know. So, yeah, I'm excited about all that.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to wrap up, you know, get you to the show because we got an open in just a few minutes.
Excellent.
So I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming out
so much for having me on,
and sharing your thoughts. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks, bro.
And keep it on halfwheel.com to continue seeing our coverage of PCA 2022. And thank you for watching.
Half Wheel's coverage of the 2022 PCA Convention and Trade Show